live in America, that were born in America, who have enjoyed the freedoms that America has given them, and then they don't even have the respect for the country in which has given them so much to represent that country. I wonder why. I can think of about 20 million reasons why. But I noticed at the end, that person didn't get on a plane. I got my box today because it doesn't go up and down. See, look how tall I look now. I cheat. Yeah? Where's Steve? Well, good morning, everybody. So good to see you all. I want to first start by congratulating all of our Olympians. It was a phenomenal weekend. It was a phenomenal period of time to see people represent the United States of America. And I think if you watched any part of the hockey game, men's or women's, you really saw true Americans. And what I want to say is thank you for the American athletes who represented America and gave their best. And just compare and contrast to some of those athletes, and I won't even dignify them by giving them a name, that train in America, that live in America, that were born in America, who have enjoyed the freedoms that America has given them, and then they don't even have the respect for the country in which has given them so much to represent that country. I wonder why. I can think of about 20 million reasons why. But I noticed at the end, that person didn't get on a plane and go back to that communist country. They came back to the free country, the US of A, who is the best country in the world to give them that opportunity. And just compare and contrast with what we saw with the men's hockey team. They are proud to be an American, and they showed it, and they left everything on the ice. So congratulations to all the American athletes who trained here and have pride in their country. And with that, I'm going to switch gears and talk a little bit about the State of the Union tonight. You know, President Trump is going to tell the truth that the media won't tell. The state of our union is strong, and it is getting stronger. Let's be clear about what we walked into. When President Trump began his second term, he didn't inherit a smooth runway. He inherited a complete disaster. But he's delivering results. Under Democratic rule, reckless spending lit inflation to a 40-year high. Under President Trump and Republicans, inflation has fallen to 2.4%, a 70% drop from its peak. That's not luck, ladies and gentlemen, that's leadership. Under Democrats, 20 million illegal immigrants poured through our open borders. And thanks to President Trump and Republicans, Remain in Mexico is back, Catch and Release is dead, and we've had 9 straight months of zero releases. The border is safe and secure. And that's not luck, that's leadership. Under Democrats, radical overregulation sent gas prices through the roof. Under President Trump and Republicans, gas prices are at a 4-year low, and Americans' energy is roaring back. That's not luck, that's leadership. The bottom line is this: Republican leadership is working. Maybe not for the Washington bureaucrats, but it is working for the American people. And today, I want to introduce you to one of them. Standing next to me is Ben Hockenberry, a constituent of mine from Lake Orion, a West Point grad, father and small business owner. At Artemis Search Group, Ben helps American manufacturers grow and veterans find meaningful careers when they come home. Because of Working Families tax cuts, Ben gets a small business deduction where he can reinvest, use to hire and actually grow his business here in America. And as a father of 3, he keeps more of his paycheck thanks to the expanded child care tax credit. And all 3 of his kids are eligible for the new Trump's savings account, jump-starting their own American dream. And Ben isn't the only one. Last week it was reported tax refunds are up 11% this year. That's real money back in your pockets. But again, you don't need to hear it from me. Ben is right here. So I'm going to yield the floor to him to share what these policies mean for him and his family. Ben?
Thank you, Congressman.
Here, let me move this for you. I don't need that.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Moments ago, as laughter faded and the microphone steadied, Lisa McClain delivered a message that was equal parts defense and declaration. He inherited a complete disaster, she said of President Donald Trump, setting the tone for what she framed as a restoration story ahead of the State of the Union. It was not a cautious statement. It was not a measured aside. It was a bold assertion meant to redefine the present by revisiting the past. In that phrase, a complete disaster, lies the central argument of her defense. Not that challenges exist, not that the nation faces division or difficulty, but that the current administration walked into turmoil created by others. Inflation at a 4-decade high. Borders described as overwhelmed. Energy costs rising. A government, in her telling, burdened by reckless spending and overregulation. The narrative is clear. What we see today is not the origin of instability, but the consequence of it. And yet, the deeper question lingers. In American politics, inheritance is only the opening chapter. Leadership is measured not by what one receives, but by what one reshapes. McClain's remarks were carefully constructed contrasts. Under Democratic rule, she argued, spending surged and inflation followed. Under Republican leadership, inflation has fallen to 2.4%, a 70% drop from its peak. That's not luck, she repeated. That's leadership. The refrain echoed like a drumbeat. Not luck. Leadership, not circumstance. Strategy. On border policy, she invoked the language of control and consequence. The return of Remain in Mexico, the end of catch and release. 9 straight months of zero releases. Again, the message was unmistakable. What was once porous is now secure. What was once chaotic is now disciplined. Not luck. Leadership. Energy policy followed the same cadence. Gas prices at a 4-year low. American energy roaring back. Regulations rolled back. Markets stabilized. Not luck. Leadership. This is how political narratives are forged, through repetition, through rhythm, through sharp lines drawn between before and after. Through the promise that the American system, though strained, can be recalibrated by decisive action. But hearings are not only about statistics. They are about symbolism. Standing beside her was Ben Hockenberry, a West Point graduate, small business owner, father of 3. A living embodiment of the policies she praised. Tax deductions that allow reinvestment. Credits that support working families. Savings accounts meant to jumpstart the American dream. In elevating his story, McClain grounded abstract numbers in personal experience. It is one thing to cite an 11% rise in tax refunds. It is another to place a face beside that figure. This is the power of narrative in governance. Policy becomes personal. Debate becomes lived experience. Yet beneath the applause lines and carefully chosen contrasts lies a more profound civic tension. When lawmakers declare that the state of the union is strong and getting stronger, they are not simply forecasting economic indicators. They are asserting confidence in institutional resilience. They are signaling that the American system, with all its partisan clashes and ideological divides, still functions. The claim that a leader inherited disaster is both shield and sword. It shields current leadership from full accountability for present conditions. And it cuts against prior administrations, assigning them responsibility for what came before, but ultimately, the American voter does not live in the past. Citizens experience today's prices, today's policies, today's outcomes. That is why these hearings matter. They are not merely exchanges of talking points. They are public tests of credibility. When a representative declares that inflation has fallen because of leadership, viewers weigh that claim against their own experience. When she argues that border enforcement has restored order, the public measures that against headlines and local realities. The hearing becomes more than theater. It becomes a referendum on trust. And trust is the rarest currency in modern politics. McClain's framing of the State of the Union as a moment where the president will tell the truth the media won't tell adds another layer to this narrative. It positions the administration not only against political opponents, but against institutions of information themselves. It suggests that the struggle is not merely over policy, but over perception, over who defines reality. This is the broader context in which her remarks resonate. A nation divided not only by party lines, but by competing versions of truth. Competing explanations for economic shifts. Competing definitions of security and opportunity. In that sense, the phrase complete disaster is not simply a description. It is a strategic anchor. It seeks to recalibrate the baseline from which all progress is measured. If the starting point was collapse, then any improvement is redemption. If the runway was broken, then takeoff becomes proof of competence. But democracy demands more than narrative clarity. It demands scrutiny. It demands evidence. It demands that every claim of leadership be tested not by applause, but by outcomes. As the cameras cut away and the room quiets, what remains is not the echo of slogans, but the weight of responsibility. Because in the end, every administration inherits something: challenges, debts, divisions, global pressures. The true measure of leadership is not the scale of the problem, but the durability of the solution. The American experiment has always been resilient. It has endured economic downturns, foreign threats, political upheaval. Its strength lies not in perfection, but in its capacity to correct course. So when lawmakers argue over who inherited what, the deeper question for the nation is simple. Are we moving forward with clarity, accountability, and integrity? The State of the Union is not just a speech, it is a mirror. It reflects not only the condition of our institutions, but the character of our leaders. And in moments like this, when narratives collide and convictions harden, it is up to the American people to listen carefully, weigh the evidence, and decide what leadership truly means. Because the future of the Republic is never inherited, it is built. Policy by policy, decision by decision, truth by truth. Stay informed, stay engaged. And if you believe in holding power accountable, subscribe to Liberty Report USA and support our work to expose the truth.